and welcome to the Very Jewish Show. My name is Very Jewish Person, aka Naomi, and I am going to inform you about Judaism. So a lot of people have been asking, what is church life like? And basically, we don't actually call it church, we call it synagogue or shul. And we go to synagogue on Saturday mornings instead of Sunday, and we pray just like anyone else would, but it's a little bit different. We have, instead of reading from our Bible, we read from a book called a Siddur, which is a set of prayers, not from the Bible, but from, like, written by scholars and stuff, that we would sing or read silently in our head. And a lot of times we sit down and read, and then there's parts where we would have to stand up, face the east, because that's facing Jerusalem and Israel, the Holy Land, and we would bow at certain points. A lot of times afterwards, after services, they'd sometimes end at like 11 or 12, and we would have brunch in the sanctuary room, not the sanctuary room, in the cafeteria room. We'd have like brunch, like bagels and tuna or something, or salmon. And another question that I've gotten from some of my friends is they would like to know what kind of laws or practices that we uphold when we're not at synagogue. So, for example, keeping kosher, which a lot of people don't know much about, is a restriction of the kind of foods you are allowed to eat and the way you're allowed to eat them. For example, you cannot eat pork. That's just the most popular one, but there's also a lot of other animals that you can't eat, but you wouldn't want to eat an ostrich in the first place, so you don't really need to worry about that. There's things like you can't have meat and milk together in the same meal, so if you have milk first, then you only have to wait 30 minutes till you can eat meat, but if you have meat first, then you have to wait 3 hours until you can eat milk. So it's really confusing, but honestly, not a lot of people actually keep kosher. I don't. And if you've seen on a lot of packages of food, like Cheez-Its, there's like a little circle and a K, or circle and a U, or circle and a D or something. A lot of those mean different kinds of kosher. So usually D is like dairy because it has dairy in it, or U is like parv, which means it doesn't have milk in it, meaning like if you have meat and then you can have that. There's a lot of different things as well. It gets a lot more specific, but only a lot of the religious people, or the religious families, actually keep kosher. I personally don't. I've tried doing it. It's difficult. My old school used to make us bring kosher lunches, and it was the worst. If we wanted to bring a meat sandwich, we would have to buy the meat in a package from Kroger that has the kosher label on it, so they know that you're eating kosher food, and it's like the worst thing ever. So all I would eat for like middle school was just like peanut butter crackers, because there's like nothing I could find that was actually kosher that I actually wanted to eat. It's just so difficult, but it's what God tells us to do, even though I don't do it. What is God? So God is, we actually have one God. It is the same God as that Christianity believes in, the creator of the universe, and we also, that has no physical appearance, just God. Like you can't be like, God looks like this. You're not allowed to think that. And there's also a Hebrew word for God, like his name. We're not allowed to say it, and it's spelled Yud He Vav He in Hebrew letters. And you're not allowed to say it, so when you come across it in a prayer or something, you would say Adonai, which is another one of his names, but his original name you're not allowed to say. You can say other variations of it, like Hashem, Adonai, God, things like that. Okay, one thing is, not many people know this, but one of the very important, or one of the very big practices of Judaism is reading and studying the Torah, which is, if a lot of y'all may know, the Old Testament of the Bible. We call that our Tanakh, or our Torah. We study it, we read it, and that's just one of the big fulfillments that we need to do as a Jew to praise the Lord, and pay back for all that he's done for us. So when I was in Jewish school, I would take a Tanakh class and we would learn about like Joshua or the Book of Kings or stuff like that. And we'd also have Mishnah class, which is another book which is full of commentaries and questions about the Torah that some old scholars have asked, some sort of kind of philosophy questions, like if you say that we're not allowed to do this, how specific can we get with that? Like, so if you say we're not allowed to turn, the Jewish community in Memphis is kind of like a big giant family. There's about like a few thousand Jews in Memphis. Don't quote me on that. I couldn't find any numbers online, but there are quite a lot of Jews. We do have a Jewish community center that a lot of us hang out at, work out at, go to the pool at. There's summer camps there. There's sports, so like there's like basketball, soccer, gymnastics, whatever. There's some stuff there as well. We also have youth group. Youth group is just like any other youth group, but I'm not sure what other kind of youth groups are like, but youth group for Jews is called BBYO, which is B'nai B'rith Youth Organization, which means like the people of the covenant youth organization. And we just hang out as groups of Jews, and not that often do we actually do like Jewish things. It's mostly just like to hang out with other Jews and to make a connection with them, to be part of the community. We have youth group events about once a week, maybe once every other week. Also, the Jewish community in Memphis is quite tight. For example, you can show me a picture of a random person in the Jewish community and I might know who they are. Like, it's like a big chance that I know who they are. Might not know their name, but like I know that person. I've seen them before at like different things. Mentioned there are only 10 synagogues in Memphis, and only like 5 of them are quite major. So there's a chance that you know like 1/5 of the Jewish community who go to your synagogue. So my mom would have grown up with my friend's mom, so like I have like youth group with this kid, and my mom's like, who's Sarah? And you're like, oh, Sarah Goldenbloom? And she's like, oh, Goldenbloom, I used to grow up with her mom. Like, she knows her parents because it's so community, it's all tight, because my mom used to go to youth group with her parents, and then I'm friends with her kids. It's quite cool. Yeah. One question I also got was about like, how does being Jewish affect your life when you're not at a synagogue? Like, how does it affect daily life? And the truth is, it doesn't affect it that much, really. Like, I know I'm Jewish, but it doesn't mean like that everything I do is different. It's really the same, except for like on the weekends I have youth group and I have to go to synagogue or something like that. I would be in art class with my brother and we would like speak in Hebrew just for fun because we learned Hebrew in Jewish school, in middle school and stuff. So that's how much it affects, not that much, of my daily life. I'm sure a lot of y'all have heard of Shabbat, which is or the Sabbath, which is our day of rest. You would say it's on Saturday, but more technically it starts on Friday at sunset and it ends on Saturday at sunset. So it's most of Saturday and Friday night. So the rules about Shabbat are basically that you can't do any of the actions that we did to create the tabernacle, which was the portable temple that was used when the Hebrews were walking to Israel from Egypt in the desert. Things like setting fire to things, writing things, carving, things like that. But not many people actually set fire to things that often, so there have been commentaries and discussions about how we can apply those rules to the daily life of us now and to the modern day. And usually what that means is you can't write, you can read, but you cannot write, you can't watch TV, and you can't use electricity. You can like use electricity. For example, my grandparents have this lamp that's on their nightstand, and it has an automatic timer on the plug, so when Shabbat starts, it turns on automatically. That counts. You're allowed to do that because you didn't yourself switch the light yourself. So you're allowed to do that. You can't use your phone, you can't use anything that's like electrical. You can eat, but you can't cook. There's a lot of other things, but it's your day of rest, because on the day of creation, the first 6 days, God created everything in the world, but on the 7th day of the week, he rested. So he wants us to do the same. So that's what we do. But I personally, my family does not observe Shabbat, although we probably should. We just don't. Not many people actually do. It's quite difficult in the modern day because we are so used to using our phones, and a lot of the things that we do that are important to us come from our phone. If we had a whole day without using our phone, then bad things might happen. So, yeah. Here's a thing you've all been waiting for, Hanukkah. Hanukkah is a holiday that usually happens sometime in December. The days can vary depending on the Hebrew calendar, which is another calendar that we go by sometimes. So Hanukkah is a holiday that lasts 8 days, and there is a misconception about Judaism about Hanukkah that a lot of people think is true. A lot of people think that since Hanukkah is 8 days long, you get a present every day of the 8 days, which is completely not true. I mean, I wish. Only like the rich Jews do that, because I would just get like decent like presents. Like I would get like a tape dispenser, and I'm not kidding, everyone's got a tape dispenser for Hanukkah. Last year I think I got like $20, you know what I mean? Like it's just basic stuff. We don't have a tree, we don't have a character like Santa. Some people joke about there being like a Hanukkah Harry, but that's just because we're like jealous of Christmas or whatever, but nobody really thinks that's real or whatever. So Hanukkah is a holiday in December, like I said, that where we light a menorah, which is a 9-branched lamp candle holding thingy that we light one more candle each day on the 8 days. Y'all have seen it before. The origins of Hanukkah is this. So in the beginning of when Jews first were in Israel many years ago, when they first got to Israel from Egypt, the Greeks were coming in to attack them and try to take over their land. And there was a group of soldiers called the Maccabees who were fighting against them. They were fighting really hard, and even though their army was very small and weak compared to the Greeks, which was like big, and they had like swords and bows and arrows and horses and stuff, we didn't have that. We still won, and that was a miracle. So Hanukkah is a lot of what Hanukkah is about miracles. There was also another miracle where a lot of people are trying to stay in, trying to conserve all the oil they have for their oil lamps to light up their buildings, to stay and hide during the war. And all they had left was just a little bit of oil that would have lasted just for 1 day's worth of candle. But it lasted 8 days, which is crazy, and that's another miracle. So that is why Hanukkah is 8 days long, and why we light 8 candles, and why a lot of our food that we eat on Hanukkah is oil-like. So you have heard of latkes, which are delicious potato pancakes, like shredded potatoes with like eggs and stuff, and then you flip them. They're kind of like pancakes, but like not, and they're good. There's a lot of oil in them. Because of the oil, we have oil-based foods. We also have like fried donuts that we have filled with jelly. I don't like them personally, but a lot of people quite like eating those. And also, like, I don't know if it's just me as a Jew, but it might be some other Jews, but just for me at least, I kind of like envy people who get Christmas. It's weird because, y'all get a tree and you get to light it up and it's all pretty, and they'll get to meet Santa, which I mean, I know he's fake, but like it's pretty cool as like a kid to like meet a fictional character who you get to like, who's kind of like us, like not like a superhero, but like he's like a world famous person, and you get to meet him. Like that's awesome, right? It's weird. And like a lot of times there's like a lot of really famous Christmas movies that I haven't seen. Okay, also Jewish school. So I went to this school called Bornblum Jewish Community School, formerly known as Schechter. It's in Germantown, and I went there from 3rd grade to 8th grade, although it does start in kindergarten. In there we learn general studies like English, science, math, social studies. But we also we learn Hebrew, the language, we learn Tanakh, we learn our Bible. We have Mishnah class, which is more like a commentary of the Tanakh class. And then we also have a Jewish social studies class. So in 7th grade, for example, we learned about the Holocaust, and in 8th grade we learned about different cities in Israel. The whole entire school from kindergarten to 8th grade was 100 or so kids. So it was very, very small. Okay, so new location, I'm at home now. So one more question. So like I was saying, our school was very, very small. Our 8th grade class, by the end of 8th grade, it ended up just being 8 people. And 4 of those people, which only makes half of the class, goes across down here, including me, my brother, Asher, and Julia. So basically, I grew up with these people. You know, it's kind of like we're siblings in a way, but we're not, because we know each other so well, because we have class with each other like every single day for every single class. You know, it's different, and it's kind of interesting switching from a small, like a tiny school like that, to a bigger school like this. Even though this isn't as big as like White Station or Houston, it's still big to us. I mean, I've gotten used to it. So one more question that I thought I should answer. Not many people have actually asked me to answer this question, but I really feel like it's important to tell people, because this happens, like there's so much confusion with this topic like all the time. So bar mitzvahs. Basically, bar mitzvah is basically like the time, it's a ceremony that you have that basically transforms you from a child to an acting adult in the Jewish community. It means you should uphold the laws and go to synagogue every week. It basically just means like you're responsible for yourself now, but not legally, because the law isn't the same way. That's for 18. But okay. So like I was saying was, it's basically kind of like the whole, like, when you're 18, you're legally an adult thing. Basically, it's like that, but for Judaism, and it means you basically are responsible for yourself, and you are responsible to follow the laws and go to synagogue and do all the different things relating to Judaism on your own. And you shouldn't have an excuse like, oh, I'm a child, because you should be doing it because you're an adult now. So basically, for females, it's called a bat mitzvah, and it happens when you are 12. When you're a male, it is called a bar mitzvah, and it happens when you're 13. And my brother and I, we had a b'nai mitzvah, which basically means 2 people doing it. We did it together, and we both did it when we were 13, because I had to wait so I can catch up with him, so we could do it in the same year, because it costs less. Basically, we have a service in the morning. Usually we do, on the Saturday services, have somebody come in and read parts of the Bible in Hebrew out loud, and it's called chanting. So there are different marks under the words that mean different, they're kind of like music notes in a way. So, you know, it tells you how to sing it, so you sing the words as well as reading them. It's called chanting, and they chant it. So Noah chanted from the Torah, and I read some from the Mishnah, which is the commentaries, and we both made speeches about topics we studied about over the past year. And then we had a service. We didn't have a service. We had a lunch, like a brunch, and then that night, which not everyone does this, but we usually have a party with a few of our friends and stuff. Yeah. Oh.
Thank you for watching The Very Jewish Show.